So yeah, right now I'm doing an all magenta and ivory and teal phase era because it goes with
Mm.
the book cover. There's also the yellow and orange, and I feel like I'm going to get to that when I get home, but I had to like to travel, I packed because I like it's red, white, and blue, magenta, ivory, and teal. It's just another
Hmm.
form of it. And then when we launch the book, though, we're going to have the Cults Always Promise space travel parties. And the outfit that I got for the New York party, oh, it's too much. It's too much.
Oh,
And I also
goodness.
found a space travel like dancing dress. So I think my Asheville party is going to be a salsa party. It's
Oh
going to be
my
like a
gosh.
salsa space party.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's just awesome. Salsa, space, systems. Just throw that in there.
She's just going to pull it all together. I
I
mean, it's
love
funny how
that.
the things that you think don't connect get connected. Like for me, like the
Yeah.
knitting and crochet and creating and like the depths of how that has helped me, like me with identity, but then also has like folded into my brand and what it means for other people has been really cool.
Same. Right? Like that was not a part of my intention. Which is where the growth happens when you can't, like there's some aspect of like scheduling change that we think we can do.
Hmm.
But when I started my first White Woman Whisper video, I'm wearing this like button down thing I wore to work all the time. And I'm still thinking, I just come so far, and I was in Christina posting some of our first episodes, just like seeing how different you look too. Like just obviously it's just color, right? But it's just like, oh, look at us. We're in here just
It's just color, but is it?
it's
Is it?
obviously not, right? It's the simple not easy because it means so many other things to embrace color
Yeah.
as something. And like even in our language, when we talk about colorful language, it usually means cursing. And then I thought about curse as a word. Curse, I don't know, just like little witchy, like a curse word. What's it gonna do to you? I would rather hear the curse word than a beep beep that makes me go, what was that word? And now I gotta go look it up. Like literally that's what censorship. Anyway.
So one of the things that was funny when my child was born, we were raising her trilingual for a while, and so I was like really, really focused on this. And I found this cool essay that was about cursing around your children as a way of teaching code switching.
Oh.
And this was a thing that was going to happen around my child anyway, because her father was in the military, and in the military we use like a comma, and we just use all kinds of curse words all the time, right?
Isn't that
So
there's something about that in the white cults. I feel like in Nexium they did that too. For some reason I felt like they were all using the word fuck. Go ahead, continue.
yeah, no,
I
it
felt,
whatever the language is, it becomes the thing. Like in the army, you
yeah.
just say all the time, all the time. It'd be like we were just standing there talking about whatever, and you just like say it like that. And anyway, but it was
Anyway.
interesting, the essay, right, which was about saying that like you teach your kids that like language is language, but we get very different responses if we say things in different places. Like the first time I think my daughter used the F word or something, she had dropped something at home and she was like, oh, or maybe it was S word, whatever. And it was like,
Yeah.
we both looked and we were like, okay, that's appropriate. Like that's
Yeah.
if you say that in the middle of a grocery store, you're going to get a different response. If you say that at your friends' homes, you're going to get a different response. If you say that at school, you're going to get a different response. And it's one of the, code switching is one of the things that any bilingual child is just getting from birth. Yet
Mm.
for for monolingual people, that's a skill you're usually developing in middle school,
Mm.
probably white Americans, right?
Yeah, there's so
You
many.
don't
Yeah.
really start understanding that you act one way in one situation and a different way in a different situation till you're at the sort of 13, 14 age and the world starts forcing it. Whereas I think for bilingual children, obviously for Black children, for multicultural children, like you're going to have that concept from the time you're born.
Yeah. And there's W.E.B. Du Bois talks about double consciousness. And I've been saying lately, it's like, I think that was where my autism, whatever form of that you want to consider it, came in, is that I have a lot in my single consciousness, and my privilege of being conventionally attractive in some places allowed me to get away without doing the social cues as much. But I mean, to a degree, right? I started to
Yeah.
learn, but then I burnt out from the extra masking because I had my own levels of masking as a woman. But then I was, I wasn't,
I saw
but
a
that's
creator talking about
interesting.
that recently for like the pretty girls. Like being pretty was sort of a form of masking. Like all the
Yeah,
work that you do to look that way. I think of myself, like I used to do so much work and like I can make myself look like Barbie. Takes a lot of work and then you have to keep it
yeah,
up. And I think for women like us, we think that's going to make them forget that we're different.
right.
But what I have found is it just makes them more angry that you like got past or something.
It's like you sold them something and they're like, that's not what you sold me. And I was like, what did, sorry? I don't know. And I've had that on a couple levels, so especially like being light skinned in a group of friends in Black culture and in Black spaces. That's different from existing as a Black person in all white spaces. I just happen to always be in mostly Black spaces as after the age of like 8 or something. But so I had enough awareness of this wouldn't be the case in other places, that some people value this light skin thing and they come and talk to me. And then I'm like, well, I don't know. And, but it's like they're expecting something specific. But
Yeah.
I'm a whole human. I'm not, but yeah, I'm still sold like, listen, guys, you should use this to your advantage. It's a privilege. And you get in these places, and I can get at the table because they want to sit with me. But yeah, no,
But how
no,
much?
thank you.
So this has been a question for me is like, yeah, but how much can you change a system from within?
Exactly.
Right? Because that's
Like,
always the
yeah,
thought. The thought is always, well, you play the game, you do it hard, you get to the
play
top.
the
But
game is
you know,
killing
I
me.
I remember when the first woman general was appointed in combat arms, right?
Mhm.
So first woman, and everyone was like, Daniella, what do you think about this? This is so amazing. And I just remember at the time being like, it is amazing, right? And every step forward is obviously progress. However, that woman hasn't been allowed to be a woman for 30 years. She's been having to
Right.
play the boys' game and tamp down everything about herself.
Hmm.
In Uncultured, I say the number one part of being a woman in the military is to try to make them forget you're a woman so that they'll let you do your job. And so it's like,
Mm.
what is,
It's that.
every time I see the military supposedly going to make changes and then they're bringing in these women who are high ranking women. And I'm like, they're
Oh,
in the system. They're
yeah.
in the boys game. They've been playing it so hard for so long. Are they really going to show up with a woman's perspective? And of course, I'm not saying like they stop being a woman or anything, but I'm just
Of course
saying
not. Of
like,
course not. But you do a lot of conforming to get there. You
yeah,
have to. That's the only reason they would choose you. And we
right.
don't see it like that. We think, because we both tried to change it from the inside. But once you realize you have to, it takes all of your energy and dedication to get there. It's a humiliation ritual to there. And they say black faces and high spaces aren't going to save us. It's similar to that. Like, I don't
Mm,
want a fellow person doing that. I don't want her
yeah.
going through that. And there's a lot of deaths that happen when black women, self and other, and heart attacks and all these things when they get there. The president of Harvard, and there's all these different cases of black women making it, being allowed there just for one to be the first person thrown under whatever, the bus, the whatever. Um, or just to you succeed and you've given up your life to be able to, because how do you do that? How do you
Yeah.
get there? What do you have to lose of yourself and accommodate and accommodate and accommodate?
And I never forget having this discussion with couple white men in my master's degree, and we're doing a Harvard Business Review case of this woman named Carla Ann Harris, and she was like the highest ranking black woman on Wall Street, right? Like super successful, super rich. And so we're reading this whole basically like business story of her career, and we're supposed to be discussing it. And one of these white men says to the other white man, says, you know, it's so cool that she didn't encounter any racism this whole time. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're just like, I mean, she never mentions it once.
And that's cool. Think about the levels of that's cool. So not only are they wrong, right? It's now they are commending who? The system is so great. What they're really saying is she didn't mention how racism happened.
Right, right. It was kind of my thing to them where I was like, first of all, she didn't write this case, right? Someone else wrote it about her. But second of all, just because when we see her videos, like she's not talking about racism, but it's like she can't, right? She was the first black woman to get into that space. She's got to play the game. She's got to be, you know, like that perfect first person that gets in.
And if that doesn't teach us something, though, also, you know, she didn't say that there's plausible deniability. I've been really thinking about the deniability side of accountability and what isn't said. And Zora Neale Hurston said something to the effect of, if you're silent, they can kill you and say you enjoyed it, or something to that effect. And it's like, even when we say something, we're angry and we're bitter. When we don't say something, then you get to say it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So our blackness is there. You see it because you just brought it in when I didn't. So when I want to talk about something that isn't making it about race, they do. But in this denial, to me, it's denial
just
on one
like
side and
commending. They were just commending themselves that racism was no longer a thing. I was like,
in her story, like not only it's just the weirdest decision to make and that to say out loud. And then if you push back against that, you're the problem.
I did, and they got very upset with me. And then, of course, at some point, it was just like back to like, yeah, okay, well, we're not talking about race. That's not what we're here for. It's like, y'all brought it up and said it didn't exist.
That's America. That's America. That's what just happened. A black woman said, hey, guys, did you know this? And they were like, interesting. Let's make it racial. And we're only happy you spoke because you did it. Like, what about the things and she didn't even say anything. Like you said, it's a case on her. So, but still, we can do all that. Think about all that woman sacrificed to be able to do something. And everyone's just like, they probably just told her, don't talk about race, don't talk about race, don't talk about race. And then when you don't, they get to say, see? It's crazy.
This is like, you know, while I was deployed on my second deployment, this is what I would talk about with the psychologist all the time from the woman's perspective. It was like, we're not allowed to complain about anything specific to being a woman. We're not allowed to even mention that being deployed for a year in this outfit, in full drag, by the way, right? Because we're dressed as men. And we're not supposed to have any conversations about how that affects us. And I was like, a decade from now, we're going to have all of these women just splitting open, not being able to function because of how like men are able to talk about things that are male issues, but and to them it's not a male issue. To them it's an everyone issue.
And when I say white women are the men of women, they get really mad at me, which is a weird reaction and emotion to have in response to that. Like, you hate men, or you like, because you were so pissed that I would compare you to such creatures. Anyway, it's starting to sound familiar. And you should connect with them. And I also tend to think, if I were talking, I just made this connection because I was talking online, kind of trying to ask white women, like, what was the difference maker with this man versus bear? And it's really that you were forced to identify with me and not with whiteness in the story. Because, but I had to say, remember how men reacted to the man versus bear. And a lot of people said, if you didn't say that, it's like, but why else would I be here talking to you if I didn't have the point that I wanted to use this? Anyway, But it's, if women want to talk to men in general about stuff, I would say don't say your daughters, your wives, your whatever. It should, like, I don't know. They like talking about themselves. Y'all like talking about yourselves. That's why I ask white women, hey, white women, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, listen, that's just the truth. You can't convince someone to care by saying, what if it was your property, your possession, or your protector, or
Yeah.
your parent? It's like, well, see, you're doing it wrong because it's hurting them too. But don't talk to them if you don't want to talk to them. That's the other. But that's so interesting. It's a direct, like, that's why I say it's a cult. It's a cult mindset, cult system, because you can't talk about yourself. You're not allowed, we're not allowed to talk about periods because it makes men uncomfortable. That's,
This is
those
what
are
I
weak
love.
people.
What I love about women comedians right now is like every single one of them talks about her period on the stage and also makes fun of how balls look, both of which I think
Right.
are incredibly appropriate. Um,
Just
for
bring it down to
for what for what
the
women
normal
have had to
stuff.
deal with. But yeah, like that has been a thing to me that has been so weird, like men being like weirdly afraid of periods. And it's just like
They wouldn't
so
be if we, that's up to us, in my opinion. Like, for it, the men around us. My brother has heard about my period
yeah, if we just
because,
talked about it
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
how dare you, And I'm gonna, this is I'm doing this for the women of the world. This is the one guy I have around me sometimes. He's gonna at least not go, oh god. I don't know. I just don't think women hold too much of that space of men don't like to and hear about it. You take it on as your
Yeah.
responsibility. You cover your shoulders because you think you can control men's feelings and lust and whatever by what you wear. That's a little not true, but also like colonial,
Yeah.
and dehumanizes men, but also
And
is wrong. Like, it's just bad.
it dehumanizes men. It also teaches men, right? Like men were taught that periods were gross and crazy, and so then they're taught that they should stay out of our purses, and so then they're taught that we should be the ones doing the, whatever.
Yeah, it's
um
it's all
I think it's
socialization.
just that it's all just learned behavior. And like, what this is why you always hear the dudes say, oh, I have sisters, it doesn't freak me out, right? Because
Yeah.
like they've just been around people who talked about it. But it's like, so going back to the what you wear thing, right? Like that's how purity culture creates pedophiles and rapists,
Hmm.
because you're, like the stories that I've heard of people, like their dads telling them they need to cover up because they're giving them impure thoughts. Like,
I
ew,
hate that so
what?
much. I hate it so much. And what does that teach your little brain? And I mean, we don't have to go into her, but I don't know if you've heard about this Kendra person. Kendra, who fell in love with her psychiatrist.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So but from my aspect of it, I talk about, the white woman of it all, and this automatic assumption that if a white woman finds someone attractive, he's already reciprocating that feeling. There's just the desirability, and that I can control
Hmm.
this man and his attraction to me, and if not, the dysregulation that comes from that, but the validation and the confirmation, and how dangerous all of that can be. But it's just, instead of sitting in like, I don't know, I don't need to make up this story, but just zooming out and seeing your place in everything is so important. And that pause in between, well, and you have it. And there's something about people who have left cults already, who are already questioning the things that come to their brain.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what it is, because, or like, that's the white women I want to
I
capture, is
mean,
like
even
those.
I think, when you were saying that about like they just assume that if they like someone, they like them back. And I feel like that was specifically taught to white women in the 80s and 90s with the social media, with like that's part of main character syndrome, I
Yeah.
think,
Yes.
and just like, and if they don't like you, then they're automatically gay. Like
They're
that
gay. And
whole part of that, I felt like that was a thing. When I came to the US, I felt like that was a thing being taught to girls. Like,
that's interesting. That he hit you because he likes you is a delusion. That's, stop that. You know, you're convincing yourself of things counter to what you're experiencing. Um, and the fairy tales just tell you, Sleeping Beauty, guys. I see myself as the waker of Sleeping Beauties. I'm gonna whip open the lights and go, a man is coming, a man is coming, he's gonna kiss you, and then he's gonna possess you, you need to go. And then the story's over because whatever. I'm like, there's no dragons, it's just me. I've been trying to get in here to save you. Like, it's not the fear and the protection of doctors and all that stuff. These narratives are, yeah, they're taught because we don't have them either. They're taught to white women specifically.
Yeah.
I never
Because
got the
you
feeling.
have talked about this before. Like, you have never assumed that any boy you liked in school that you had a crush on was going to have a crush on you back.
No, I was like, we're just interacting. Uh-oh, what's happening here? Like, opposite of main character syndrome, and maybe it's because whatever. I just saw things for how they were. I'm listening to the words you're saying. I call myself an overactive listener. And if you said Netflix and chill, uh-oh, I thought that's what you meant. Not for very long. Yes, I caught on eventually with whatever. But why
Oh,
would
I never caught
include?
on. I never caught on to when
Oh,
men would like me. There was the autism thing. Yeah.
right. But also,
Um,
do they even like you? I don't know. Or are they just
that anecdote of the white woman, Sleeping Beauty, main character syndrome, and you coming in and waking her up, like, that's how the book needs to start.
I
Like,
feel like
that's
it
the
feels so
prologue.
good,
That's the
right?
prologue of your
And I'm
book.
just like,
It's just like, this is what we're doing.
right, it is not a dragon. It is just me. I'm just a lady here to take,
Like,
just try.
dragons are not real, but the man is coming and he is gonna kiss you and then take you away.
He's been doing this for 400 years, okay? I need you. Every time y'all come in here, you eat the apple just because some older lady told you to eat the apple. I don't know if that's even the same story. Doesn't matter. You're going. I need you. Wake up. It's been long enough, But it's
Oh,
like, and then they're all woke, and you can woke with me. But it's his white knight syndrome. He set this up. He told you about
it's
the
so good.
dragons.
It's so good.
Um,
You're gonna be like waking them up at the beginning and then like, here's a whole book to like get a little bit woke.
this is how
That's so good.
this
That's
is
so
what
good.
yeah, this is, I know it's gonna be a harsh, like, this is how we're gonna hut of humility this, and then talk about the scam
And
of the
even
white
this,
lie of
like,
all of this.
I think there's this kind of idea that like getting woken up out of your cult or out of your brainwashing is like, it's so nice, you've just been sleeping and you wake up and there's this like nice handsome prince there kissing you and
To save you from it.
and like in reality, like when you have a moment that cracks your brainwashing, it's usually incredibly painful.
Yes.
You realize you're going to have to see your whole life all over again through a new lens. And
Yeah.
that's not easy. That's not something that's just done automatically. I had my cult crack in the brainwashing when I was 14. I have my military crack in the brainwashing at some point. But like when
Mhm.
I got that email from the army asking me to testify against someone I had been married to for white supremacy, my literal thought was, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do it all over again. Right? I'm going to have to go through every story of my life and
Mhm.
examine like the whole way I tell myself the story, like from a
Yeah.
different lens. And that's not easy.
Right.
That's not something that takes moments. That's something that takes decades. That's why I was like, oh my God, I have to do this all over again.
It's like, oh, it's a moment I've heard positive disintegration, where it's like,
Mm.
yeah, it hurts, but it is for the best. You got to kind of break it down, go through it, and then what you'll get is better. It's like reviewing your work. I hate doing it sometimes. Rereading something is like, ugh, but you got to do that to get to a version you feel like you want to share and you would enjoy sharing if that's what you want to do. But there's yeah, it takes going through it. It takes hearing the song you've been singing for decades and then actually singing the words out loud and realizing, oh, this song was about a penis the whole time. And it
Eeny,
takes
meeny,
getting
miny,
to and from.
mo.
Yeah,
Eeny,
all
meeny,
of that.
miny, mo. It was
We
about
start to hear it.
racism the whole time.
Or the phrases like, oh, don't be afraid to crack the whip. Mm, hey, until you hear someone say it, you don't think about the phrase until you hear someone say it. That doesn't mean that person is the problem or anything. It's just part of,
The violence in the language. Yeah.
oh,
And these are, but
lots
you know,
of
when you
whip.
say like, it doesn't say that person is the problem. I've had this argument so many different times with the word guys. Just like, just telling people that like, it is not gender neutral. It is
Mm,
not, all that's all I will say. Guys is
yeah.
not gender neutral, and people will flip the out. And I actually love to let people just go on and on and on about how they think it's gender neutral. And then I'll be like, okay, so how many guys have you slept with?
Yeah.
And all of a
Yeah.
sudden they're
Yeah.
like,
It's not
oh,
gender
yeah,
neutral.
it's not gender neutral. But like the way people take it so personally, and it's like, it is hard. It's hard to change language. You know, when I decided I was going to get guys out of my vocabulary, it took me about 3 years. Fun fact, my 9-year-old is bringing it back in somehow now, and I know she's not getting it.
Well, it's because the culture, like the internet culture, uses guys also, like
Mm-hmm.
all YouTube, so they use it gender neutrally. I think I probably say it. I get that, and
It's one
that's
of
just
those. It's one of those
information.
things where it's like, yeah, it's easy. It's easy to say it, and if you haven't ever specifically worked on not saying it, you probably say it. But
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that it's gender.
right. It can
So
be.
I will flip it around
Yeah.
sometimes, and I will say,
That's
hey, so I'm going to call everybody ladies, and I just want you to know that when I say ladies, I'm being gender inclusive. You know, like
that's funny
I
because we
mean
do
all
that.
of you.
Well, because black people say girl to
Yeah.
everybody. And that's interesting. And some men, obviously, it's a red flag if they don't like that, but it depends on the type of conversation you're having. So it is interesting. Also, like language
Mm,
is different for everybody. And you have to be okay saying, I say guys, and it's not gender neutral. Okay.
right.
If I say, okay, I'm going to use this word that does indicate men, all right. I'm okay with that. If people want to get in my comments and say, da, 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 they have a right to do that. If that's the thing that makes them block me, that's interesting.
It's
It's
this
have
thing you taught
nuance.
me earlier. We talked about it on an episode of like, you don't stop listening to R. Kelly or whoever like right away. It becomes like the more you understand how problematic they are, you just don't want to pick that music up as much.
Right.
And
You're uncomfortable with that. If yeah, you just make decisions based on information. And it's like things aren't
it's like what
inherently bad because they're
it's
not
more
gender
like
neutral.
once it starts mattering to you, you know, like that's when you're going
Yeah.
to give it up. That's when you're going to change the language. That's when you're going to, you know, to me, the guys thing mattered a lot because my career was in the military and we were constantly being sidelined and erased from the room and all of that.
Right.
It's the same reason I don't say female because it sounds like a slur.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
you know, that's another one people get really mad about when I say to them, I'm like, the use of the term female to a human woman was for slavery, came in through
Yeah.
chattel slavery, and it was specifically about dehumanization. And so, you know,
It
like
yeah. And you're
I
not
can't,
telling
not
people
only
what to
can I
do.
not use it, but when I hear another woman referring to herself as a female, I always know that she's worked in a like misogynistic environment
Right. And
because
you're not telling anybody not to use it and here is why. And even if you were, they don't have to listen. But it's
yeah.
interesting that they will go back and forth with you about it because it feels like once you know something, you have to do something about it. And that's just not true. Or correct the person who said it so that you don't have to do anything about it.
But that is kind of the problem I think with language is it is very crack in the brainwashing, you know, like
Yeah.
once you know, like you should have seen, oh, we have a bundle for Culting of America. You get the book, you get the workbook, you get a bag that says I knit so I don't stab people, and you get needles that look like swords. And we did everything and we did all the packaging, and it was Knitter's bundle. And just literally the first time I tried to say it out loud, I was like, nope, can't do it. We got to change it. It's got to be the knitting bundle. I was like,
Yeah.
I hope Rebecca, I was like, oh, I hope Rebecca doesn't see this.
Like, it would be a choice, right? Like, it wouldn't be the thing that
it's,
is.
and I told you when I talked about this on Threads and people flipped out, and I was just like, it never occurred to me before. And now that's all I hear. So that is just like an easy change for me,
Yeah.
and there's this other thing of like, I can only explain it with the man woman thing where it's like, it doesn't have to be an equivalent. So I will say women soldiers, right? Or like women military officers, whatever. That doesn't sound to me that weird. When you say men soldiers, it does sound weird. I continue to say male soldiers, but also men have not had the word male weaponized against them in the same way that military women have had the word female, right? They literally will say, get those females over there, right? And it's like, it's said in the same tone as bitch. We all know it. We all have to deal with it. We have to refer to ourselves that way. And it's one of those things. And it's like, if men found being called male to be dehumanizing, they would bring it up. And maybe they will someday, but
Well, and they shouldn't. So here's the thing: is like, I say white women, and that makes people very uncomfortable because white people are not used to having white weaponized and quote unquote against them. I'm not weaponizing; I'm just using it. But I'm saying the thing you're not supposed to say in front of in front of people.
Yeah.
They're like, no, categories are for everybody else. I'm an American or whatever. Okay, like, what did that mean? The fact that you're correcting me says you're even whiter than I thought, and I didn't think about you at all. So like, it's the behavior, not the language always, right? It's what do you care about? And for me, certain language, like saying enslaved people instead of slaves, is something I stand on. I don't correct people. That's the correcting is a white thing, like the correctional officer bit. It's just taking note and listening. And why are people talking? If you say slaves, but I'm really informed by everything else you said, I'm not going to be like, I love everything you had to say, but enslaved. They were enslaved. They weren't, I'm not going to do that. But if you ask me, let me read your book and tell you what I think, I'm going to tell you, hey, I would not say this.
Yeah.
I would say this happened. A bunch of people kidnapped them, trafficked them,
Somebody simply asked me to start saying the delusion of white supremacy instead of just saying white supremacy. And I was like, oh, I like that. Like, I like that. It's useful. Yep. It makes me think about it every time that it's fake. It makes other people think about it.
Yep.
Right. And it was like very polite. Also a very big request to change language. And I was like, no, that's great.
And it's a request to consider it, right? Like, no one says, now that I've asked you, white people do this, now that I've asked you to do something, it's kind of also a demand. Like, also like the can I ask you a question is weird. It is, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
And it's also, so my child recently chose her own name, which is Leia, by the way. I don't hate it because she needs a code name for social media. So she decides she's going to do this, right? And immediately, every single time we say her actual name, it's mom, dad, and it's kind of like, we're trying to tell her, like, babe, you got to give us some time. That's the other thing. It's like language. I mean, it's the longest chapter in Culting of America, which is available for pre-sale, by the way, y'all. Super awesome packages tagged here. But like, language is something we're very willing to change about ourselves, but it's also something we're very, very deeply connected to. And so it can take time. In cultish, Amanda Montell says that like the cult language is the last thing we give up. And I actually think it's a really important, I can tell where people are. Like, for example, if they're not willing to call the group they were in a cult yet, sometimes I give them that as their homework. I'm like, you need to start calling it a cult.
It's like bad words.
Learning to take off the language that the cult gave us, right? They were not slaves. They were enslaved people and use and always the words that the cult gave us were whitewashing,
Yep.
covering up, making it sound less, it was called flirty fishing in the Children of God, not we're I mean, he really did call them God's hookers and all of this stuff, like once they accepted it. But, saying flirty fishing sounds much less harsh than saying religious prostitution.
It's the gate.
Saying
Yeah.
children performing on the streets of the world sounds much less harsh than saying I was internationally trafficked as a child actress.
Yeah. I mean, the truth hurts, right? But like not that bad. It hurts, but hurts isn't, when white women are like, "Oh, it really hurts to be compared to men." I'm like,
yeah. Well, truth hurts, but it also heals, right? Like until I had the words for labor and what had happened to me,
right.
I couldn't really heal from that or get past that or understand it.
Why painkillers are a white people problem for many reasons, but it was designed to be so that you think that is the win. That is the goal, is to not feel, end of sentence, anything, not joy, not sad, but rage at other when we decide. Like the prescribed feelings is weird. The selective controlled feelings of like the cry night idea, like the more I learn. I saw you post a video about Pure, so I ordered it. I took a couple days, but I ordered it. So I was like, I think I want this to be my next white lady book. Because I want to hear white women talking about white women. Now, I don't know. I haven't gotten to hear if she knows she's a white lady, but we'll find out. Usually when deconstructing, it is helpful, but not always happening to see the whiteness. And
I don't know that she sees the whiteness. Like I'm looking back at that now. It's been a few years. It's definitely a white lady trying to deconstruct white evangelical purity. And
I'm gonna read it as a white lady book, but it is interesting. We'll see. But it's
I mean, I think you're gonna be able to bring so much more history into like where it came from and all of that stuff.
Because to me, it's like, oh, these are the results of something, right? I already know what the something is, but I don't know that much about the results because I was actually protected, with my whiteness. My white mom was like, we only keep, it was mostly Black people around, or just people that are cool with this. But I didn't know the culty parts. So it's interesting to find out, but it's also weird to hear. It's like the way people in Utah think that that's everywhere. Like if they don't leave, they think just Utah is everywhere. Like that is everywhere has soda shops and everywhere has, just like everyone wants to be Mormon. Everyone's kind of Mormon. Everyone's almost Mormon, used to be Mormon, knows a Mormon. I didn't know what a Mormon was. I had never heard the words until I had my first like white friend after, in the cultiness of business school. That was a whole element. I was just like, these people are different. I was in Thailand and anyway, I was just like, I didn't know what any of this was. I'm from New Jersey, New York, but I believe that they think that everywhere is like that. And what happens there? Like when do they leave? Do they not leave? I guess they usually don't. It's such a big place, so it's like you're isolated. If white America is a cult, then this is the headquarters, the entire state of Utah.
Which Mr. Knitting Coat Lady is going to be driving the Culting Up America van through Utah. So I'm so happy.
There's also like a Billboard culture apparently in Utah. I found out about. I follow like ex-Mormon people because I'm also like, this is literally what y'all want without us. But there's like a Billboard things, and I thought about having me out there. I want a Billboard
culture. Billboard culture from Canada to the U.S. is just like their highways are not just completely covered in billboards in the skies. And
that's interesting too.
I heard this theory once that the only thing that actually ties American states together culturally is the billboards and the franchises that are like available, no matter where you go or whatever. Because if you think about it, like New York and Alabama have nothing else
Nothing.
in common other than the
Nope.
fact that you can find like the same fast food joints sometimes.
We
Right.
just have the
Like,
same
you don't even
oppression.
have Walmart on Manhattan Island. Like
No,
there's
no. Yeah,
nothing
we just have
similar.
the same oppression. We have the same propaganda kind of pitched to us and the same kind of newsletters and newspapers and, very. But then once you realize, like, oh, there's other places. This isn't the billboards. Oh, goodness. I didn't even think about that. And, like, there's such beautiful nature. And then it's just like, go see this dinosaur museum. Like, so many
It
offensive
was even
things.
so funny because in Canada, in the Canadian RV parks, they like don't have Wi-Fi. Like they actually want to disconnect,
Yeah.
which is troubling when you're trying to work from an RV park, but is
Yeah.
actually just like
I'd like
kind of
the
cool.
option of doing it when I
Like
want, though.
I know. It was harder to get Wi-Fi in Canada than in Afghanistan a decade ago, which was mind blowing to me.
Interesting.
I
Interesting.
literally told my team, I was like, it's not like I'm going to be in the end of the world. Like, I'm just going to be in Canada. And no, it was challenging, but it, it is funny to see the difference because you do kind of tend to think of it as like, oh, we're the same, right? Like it's two countries of white people. And honestly, I describe the middle of Canada as like what America could be without the delusion of white supremacy and the hatred. Because like
Mm.
there's really not that much to recommend Regina, Canada. I don't think that I'll be going back there, but you could still get any kind of international food you wanted. You were still seeing all different kinds of people. So it was still very similar to the American Midwest,
Hmm.
just without the like American whiteness.
Just like
Like
this.
the American practice of whiteness.
Yeah, there's like forced smiling and how are you? Good. The world's on fire. And like that, it's just insane. And one
Oh.
of my mutuals, one of my friends who is in France but is from the South, from America, but she said when she came back here, she was like, I forget how like fake and customer servicey and like pretend you're having a great time serving it is here. And that is slavery. But that's all like tipping culture. And that's literally slavery. They said, you better smile. You better act like you like this so I don't feel bad about what I'm doing and forcing you to be in the house with me
My
while I say you're disgusting. Get in my bed. I mean, be quiet. What? It's
my
a
best
whole mess.
friend who's from Jersey, and then was in the army. And of course, she's my best friend. She also dated a guy from Texas once. And just like the way people in the South will wave to a stranger on the street because you're driving a car and someone's walking and you wave. And she just always is like, oh, do you know that person? And we're like, no, that's just what you do. I don't know how to explain it. And obviously it's whiteness. I think it also comes from less population. So it's kind of
Yeah,
like you're driving, there's just one person walking towards you. That's all you have to look at. So
it's
you
the
like
gated
smile and
community.
wave. But like try
It's
to
the
do that in New York.
no.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
Like, we don't got time for that.
you said needed community?
No, gated communities.
Gated.
So it's like also, when there's fewer people and it's a little isolated, you might technically know them. You just wave because you might as well, and that's just nice. And nice is easy, and
That's
nice
true.
and easy,
Yeah.
and
I hadn't thought about that. This
'cause
is
that's it.
in military towns, right? Like everyone drives much more politely because you don't know, like you cut that car off and maybe it was the general, or you flip someone off and maybe it was the general's wife. And
Mhm.
so like everyone kind of has to be on their best behavior with road rage. It's
So it's
interesting.
interesting, isn't that interesting that we can just choose when we are dysregulated and not, and consider some people that might impact us or not. So like that's when I really just figured out when I talked about intersectionality is like living at the intersection of Route 21 and a random like residential street in Newark, which is like kind of like a highway, but it has lights on it. It's very busy. There's lots of stuff. There may be a gas station over there, and having to cross that street every day, you have to take a lot more into consideration, but you also over time learn a lot more. Being white is like growing up in a gated community. And you're like, I've crossed roads. I know how to cross an intersection and cross the street. And like, obviously, it's not that different. You just blah, blah, blah. You don't know. And you see so many different people, and what people expect, they're going to be safer around you because same thing. They're politer because they know you
Yeah.
maybe, or they know it could come back on them, or you may be
Yeah.
walking and be a
Well,
neighbor or something.
and also you come from small enough places and they don't even have intersections. You know, like
Right.
my
It's barely
my
an
brother was just
intersection.
staying from Midland, Texas, and he's like, "Yeah, you don't have intersections because nobody's
Oh, and
walking. Like everybody's
oh,
just driving, and they're
you got to see Route 4 in, so when, and I never knew it was weird, but in the, where I grew up in Teaneck, Route 4 is like the street, the main highway, but it's like you get on, there's very little ramp. Okay. It's like you're at a stop sign and then you're on the highway and then it's like, boom, there's just that. But I thought this was just, how we drive because this is where I grew up. And it's always kind of clustered and you just have to know, right? It's just these things. But it's
it's
just being white and like cis and able-bodied and whatever I say is like being in a gated community on a cul-de-sac. So like in some ways you have to be extra, extra, extra nice because you're gonna always see these three neighbors, and if you want to play outside and there's all these social cues you gotta have, you can ask for sugar, you got three options. If you're at an intersection in Newark, New Jersey, you got a bunch of options for sugar, especially if you've been there for a while, next door, upstairs, whatever, or the gas station, or get on the bus. It's very, there's options, there's opportunities
yeah.
there. In a
And I
cul-de-sac,
would
it's not
say,
like that.
as a white person whose last home was at the end of a cul-de-sac, uh, there's this whole thing about like you don't want to get to know your neighbors because what if you don't like them and then they're still your neighbors, so you kind of just like live constantly ignoring.
Yeah, because I do that too.
And
I just don't want to, because it's a potential for bad is there, and that's true with y'all.
yes.
Like it really be bad. So it's not even like that's a delusion. That's true. Like the violence within the community that is so vile with a smile is the creepiest thing. Like ooh, and that's scary. That's creepy. The way white women act with me, and someone, I went live and someone said, and her name, I have to just talk about it. Her name was Soul Sister, but it was SOL_Sister, right? Okay. And she said, it looks like you have pretty privilege and all these heart eye emojis or something. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I don't know, but all the heart eye emojis, it was like, are you complimenting me? I couldn't tell. But of course, as I don't really take it, whatever, oh, so are you saying, so, being pretty is so hard, like trying to bait me into saying something that would make them mad. But then of course I look, soul sister is not, and I said, oh, you're giving sister hard okay, this is not giving sister with an A. And people love that. It's like, but it just felt so weird. What kind of, how is that a conversation? All of that just to be upset with me, just to bait me into saying something like, no, I don't have pretty, like, I guess you wanted me to say, I don't have pretty privilege, or life is really hard when you're pretty because blah, 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 blah. I know how to say things with nuance. You're not going to get me. But also, even still, okay, everyone's life is hard. It was just, I don't understand the layers of the mean girl, the vile of the smile thing, and the emojis. And I'm just trying to compliment you. You're welcome.
I
What?
also just think there's this like people who don't want to self-reflect want to dig at those of us who are publicly self-reflecting because
Mm,
like, oh, did you get this category, did you get this, did you get, I don't know,
you
i
got to
just had
be
one
careful.
I just had one recently where of course white woman was like, has knitting cult lady ever evaluated herself as a cult leader? And like,
Who are you
it's always
asking
funny
this?
because they don't want the actual answer. They want
Right.
to see me flip out. And when the actual answer is like, of course I did that before I even started. And here's a 20-part guru gotcha checklist that I created for creators and also to keep myself in line. And like, they don't like
Oh,
that. They wanted the question to just upset me and for me to have to go into defensiveness, I guess.
yes. Ew. Oh, but it's like because they don't want to self-reflect. Because I just posted about this today because the questions, you know how I'm a question with an A. I practice questionity. I value questions so much. But then when people ask me these questions, so I had said the thing with Kendra that, this automatic assumption and delusion of desire that white women are conditioned to have is the same kind of delusion of disdain they have with black women. They think I hate them. When
Mm.
all of the signs point to I care a lot and see that you're really powerful and could do something, all the signs, if you tell the story, just saying like it doesn't make sense, but black women are often prescribed hate and angry and attitude in their lack of doing, right? And the lack of professionalism, lack of the deniability, right? And someone said, but isn't it, honest question, don't you ever think you misinterpret white women's social cues? Isn't this inherent humanity, essential to humanity? Isn't that like, are these questions? Because the first one was kind of a question. How do you know? That's exactly, how do you know you're not misinterpreting their social cues?
This
What,
is,
two.
but also it's like people telling themselves with their questions like this, like
Yeah.
I get this one a lot where they're like, well, okay, fine, fine. The army's very, but like, do you really think you can have war without? And I just like to lean in and be like, you know what I do? You know why? Because I've been to war for 18 months and know people.
I'm so upset by that, actually.
But it's
But I'm not,
really,
I'm
I'm
not
upset by
shocked.
it too, right? Because it's obviously like, first of all, they're thinking it's all men. Second of all, they're thinking like, well, either I would do this or I've done this or I can understand the situation
It's acceptable.
in which it's acceptable. It's just such a funny, like telling on
And
yourself kind of
and
thing.
and I just erased it, but I wrote on my board, these kind of pillars of, and I wrote reasons to, like, it comes out. It just ended up being, and I wrote it down, and I was kind of like, oh, but if it's religion, race, or riches, it's like reasons why it's acceptable that this thing already happened. They're like these, and the praise, someone
Yep.
praise and then praise, different types of praise, right? Giving praise for people who have riches, you know, someone
I
who
mean, I get
prays.
it. I basically get it justified to me all the time because people are like, well, you joined the army and like now you're doing well. So like, and it's like,
Oh,
women, like we literally have to say all of the time, like joining the army was the best and the worst decision because like, of course, it's the best social elevator, right? It pays the best benefits. Like I get disability. Yeah, I get a paycheck for the rest of my life because I was at war,
right,
like,
right,
and
right. It
there's
costs something.
this, I like how you said like the justification for, because there are literally reviews of my book on Goodreads that are like, does she expect us to feel sorry for her? Like, she
and
knew, she
and that
signed up.
that's your goal, is to someone to feel bad. So that's another thing of whiteness, is like your
Mm,
power is in making other people feel. You get to feel by making other people feel. That's colonialism. That's interpersonal colonialism. Like, why do you decide what I am not going to feel bad for her. And in fact, how dare she make me feel bad for her? Self-reflect, essentially, because they probably, oh my God,
yeah,
because reasons aren't justifications either. People don't know
right.
what justice is. They don't know what peace is, because peace would mean justice. Yeah, I talked about, I don't, I'll talk about it maybe in the book, but it's like Martin Luther King talking about negative peace versus positive peace. Negative peace being the absence of tension, positive peace being the presence of justice. And white people love negative peace and negative solidarity, bonding over hating, bonding over, being better than or could be worse and stuff like that. And like, how dare you complain? It just, the reasons they do that. I wasn't brought up in any of that. In my, I feel like that's very churchianity. I don't know, maybe, but the whiteness of like the Christian of it all, the priest. This is why, there's that book, Why Does He Do That? Or why something. It would
Yeah.
be like why he does that. It essentially, their Bible is why he does that, or like this is why he. because you are this, you are that, and you were supposed to do this, and you were supposed to do that. And the kids, if they had just this, and once he gets this, then he'll stop. And all you need to do is pick better. And you need to leave him. And why did you stay with him? All victim blaming. Why are you poor? Why is poverty a thing? So that other people, good guys need bad guys to exist. Because
Yep.
how can you be a good guy without bad guys? Otherwise, you're
Yep.
just a guy. And God forbid, you just literally, God forbid, Simon Says surrender. I mean, also the Simon Says of it all.
So, like, to me, it's always so interesting to watch shows that are from the perspectives of the bad guys. Like you had Americans, which was Russian spies in America, or like we just watched this thing called Ozark, which is this, quote unquote nice white family that's money laundering,
like 2 seasons of that
for the Mexican cartel. And it's like, to me, it's so fascinating because when you're in the head of, Sopranos would be another one, right? Like when you're in the head of bad people, you're rooting for them. Like
I would say also Daenerys. Daenerys is one, but people still think they think she's just a good girl gone bad. But she did all that for a chair, guys. She just thinks
she was a tyrant from the beginning.
For a chair. She said, I deserve that chair. My dad had that chair. For a chair. She's never seen made of knives. Hey, it was a bad goal.
For a country she's never seen.
She had all these people getting sick on the boat, traveling overseas, and this was proof she was doing good. That's a cult leader. That's a cult leader. She's freeing everybody, breaking the wheel so they can follow her.
Yep.
Leader of the free world.
Just went about getting a bunch of other people's cults. That's what that's what our cult leader did. That's something I think people miss. Is like cults pop up in times of social turmoil, right? And that is because our systems are not working, which also means there's a ton of predators getting people into cults, but all cults aren't created equal, right? Like all cult leaders aren't as good as other cult leaders.
Exactly.
So part of how David Berg built his cults up to 10,000 people very, very quickly was he just went around to all these other cults that were floundering. You have all these people that are basically like already culted, right?
Yeah, like the MLM
like my favorite of Game of Thrones is when she goes and she takes the soldiers who were just brought up from birth to be slave soldiers, and then she frees them, right? Quote unquote, frees them, and then of course they just go work for her. And it's just like
change their names. Even she still calls them Unsullied. She doesn't address the fact that guy also told her, I'm gonna have to do a deep dive on her. That guy also told her, hey, I make them all murder babies in front of the mother, and then just to prove they don't have feelings, I make them really. And do they get therapy? No, they just become hers. They just follow her now and then one of them is the one in charge of them all, and for that we love him. We love him, actually. And he gets with the only other black person. And he also never learns English really well. And everybody's... And he's just devoted to this white woman forever and ever because she freed him. And he doesn't even want to get a real name. He wants to be Grey Worm because he was named Grey Worm when Queen Daenerys, Mother of Dragons, Breaker of Chains, bought him. Freed him from the... Bro, it's like the morgue, and then the Misa, and then they carry her, all these brown people in their brown clothes, and she's on top of them, just they're crowd surfing her. Why would they want to do that?
Literal white blonde hair.
Yeah, why would they want to do that? Calling her Misa, mother. She's 17, mother, and she didn't birth those dragons. Someone gifted them to her for her trauma, and then she was traumatized, and she was like, no, these eggs, here we go with women's eggs again. And then she's like, no, I believe in them. Fire. And because of that, burn the whole town down. Like from the beginning.
We need a whole YouTube channel that's just you analyzing media. Like, can we have that?
I'd be so worked
up. Have you ever heard of the show Zach Morris's Trash?
No.
So it's a YouTube show, and it's just Saved by the Bell episodes, voice over like what's actually going on, and like the misogyny and the
No
and blah, blah, blah
way.
that is being taught. And like, I've never seen the originals. I've only seen Zach Morris's trash, and it is so good, right? It's like, here's the part where he blah, blah, blah to Kelly and this, that, and that, and the other.
Like the
Also,
actual behaviors
I
going
finished this
on.
jacket, so I have to show it off. Somebody wanted me to make them a jacket that looked like a sunset.
It's beautiful.
Look at those, please.
And then how do you feel
And look,
about
I
now
even put the
giving it
little
away?
I even put the little ADHD little bubbles that you can pop in and out here.
Fidget jacket. Oh, upgraded.
It's
That
so
is.
soft. It's so soft. The
See,
blues
I
and
would want to
purples
just.
for some reason are the softest, so I put them.
I would want to keep that. That would be hard for me.
It is hard.
That's why I don't, because I just, everything, I'm just like, and then I give it
It is
away.
hard.
I'm not good at sharing though, so.
Part of what, so this has kind of become a thing for me. So first of all, just like I have to give things away and sell things if I want to keep being able to shop and find things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, my husband will leave me. But it's become a cool thing where it's like, because part of me is I hate doing commissions, honestly, because my brain just hates it right away. I know I have to give. I just finished my last commission other than the knitting, and I'm like, yes, I get to choose like jewelry, like what I'm gonna make. But I have a thing where no matter how much I love it, like I just made this collar, right? And it's amazing. And like, no matter how much I love it, it's still only going to get worn once in a while. Like I still have so many because I'm the one that makes them. So it's still like it can only be loved so much.
Yeah.
But when I send it to someone else, it's like this jacket is amazing. But I have 5 of these amazing fur coats that I've made. And so it's still only going to get worn sometimes. And like, I'm going to wear it now on the rest of my trip. And then I send it off. And then like, I think about like who it's going to. I think they're going off to their better homes where they're going to be loved. Yeah. And then the nice thing is I'll see an old video and I'll be wearing. So first of all, to me, it's also a good lesson on like work and what happens behind the scenes. Cause I look like I have a truly endless closet, but it's really because I'm a designer that's constantly making things and selling them and giving them away. Yeah. And so, but then I look back and I have this little like time capsule of like, oh, I had that thing and it was super great. The interesting thing for me is,
I have that with blankets.
Yeah. The interesting thing for me is how often I intend to recreate something because I loved it so much and then I don't. And I just make something new. And I'm like, there's something there. I don't know what it is. It's like, I love this so much.
You never know.
I'm going to make another one. I mean, I do sometimes. It's like orange and blue collars. I have to make so many of those. The rainbow ones, I couldn't, like, people buy them so fast, but then sometimes I'm just like, no, I'm just going to let that be like this beautiful thing that I made and now it's gone. And I don't know.
So Daniella had some technical difficulties. And that's going to be the end of our show. All right. Bye.